And welcome to the new season. Today, the Silverstone Arena GP circuit plays host to the first round of the 2011 GT Cup Championship. Since its launch in 2007, the GT Cup has become famous for its large grids and close racing. And with a fabulous array of GT machinery set to grace the grids again in 2011, this season is set to be every bit as impressive. Let's go and catch up with some of the drivers. Andy, great to have you joining us in the GT Cup. What was it that attracted you to the championship?
It's the reputation it's got as being a friendly series to run with competitive cars, good drivers, good driving standards as well, and with a reasonable budget you can compete with most vehicles here.
What was it that appealed to you about the GT Cup Championship?
Just the grid of cars. It looks fantastic. There's a big grids. I wanted to run in a series where there was a big grid. Last year, running my first season with a BMW Championship, there's only small grids. So yeah, I just wanted to step it up a little bit.
What's brought you back?
Well, I think for amateur drivers, maybe it's probably the best series in the country. The standard of cars if you look down the pit, is absolutely fantastic. I think there are 9 Ferraris, not so many Porsches this year for some reason. Maybe they're a bit too hard to drive, but yeah, fantastic, and a lot of really professional teams. So it's a great series.
I enjoyed it so much last season, and I come back this season to try and win it, to be honest, because we'd come a long way from mid-season last year to front-running pace. So I've come back to enjoy it, the same as I did last year, but to be honest, to go for the wins. And, you know, a lot of the old guys are back. You know, some good drivers there, so still very, very competitive. And there's some new faces, which is good. And you need new faces, new cars, and that keeps these sort of championships alive. Yeah, it's great fun at the minute.
Well, it's great to see some returning drivers and some new faces all looking for success in the 2011 GT Cup Championship. Now let's go and catch up with some of the successful drivers from the qualifying session.
Surprised, if I'm honest, that we're on pole. There's some really quick cars out there. We only did 2 quick laps in qualifying yesterday just to, preserve the tyres, etc., keep it all sensible for the weekend. And yeah, we came out on 2 poles, so can't say any better than that.
So, Tom, fresh last year from winning Group 3 in the KTM, but this car behind you looks very different to the KTM.
It is, yeah, it's a lot different, a lot more power, a little bit less grip through the corners than the old KTM, but it's great to drive, loads of torque, and good fun.
Of course, going into the first race and the first race weekend, how is Silverstone for the BMW?
It's good. It's the new. I haven't driven the new section before. It's quite interesting. The slow stuff's quite technical. I haven't quite got the hang of it yet, but hopefully after a few more laps I should manage to get that. Excellent
stuff. And are we going for the win today?
I would like a class win, yes. I think an overall win's out of it, but a class win in Class 3 would be good.
Well, here we are down on the grid, ready for the first race of the 2011 GT Cup Championship season. We just heard from our pole sitter Michael Saunders in the TVR. He's very much hoping that his previous reliability issues are a thing of the past. Speaking of reliability issues, this space should have been filled by Peter Selden and his BMW. Unfortunately, the team are still in the garage working hard on that car, trying to get it out ready for race 2. On the second row, well, we got Gary Eastwood. He's in his London and Kent Metals backed Ferrari 430. He had wins, his first win of the season actually at Alton Park last year. He'll be hoping to add to that. And starting in P4, well, it's Andy Ruin in the Porsche 997. He also had wins at Snetterton and Spa last year. It's certainly going to be an exciting race off the line. I'll hand you straight over to your commentator, Ben Evans.
Thanks, Charlie. Well, really looking forward to this one. The GT Cup coming back as strong as ever in 2011. Multi-mark GT racing at its very, very best. And a huge and varied grid making its way onto the formation lap with Michael Saunders on pole position all along on the front row of the grid, with Gary Eastman and Andrew Rowe making up row 2. Stephen Ritchie always quick from 5th, and Toby Tarrant with a great drive to 6th in qualifying Great to see Colin Simpson back in the Marcos Mantis, although one of the stars of qualifying was Barclay Dougal, 14th and heading up Group 3. Huge field as ever, with Danny Winstanley at the very back of the pack in 26th place in the TVR Sageris, having had a number of problems during qualifying. Well, rolling start as ever in the GT Cup, and it's Michael Saunders in the bright yellow TVR who is pacing the pack through Woodcote. I think he's about ready to blast off, and he will hope to take an early lead. Huge field filing through Woodcote as the red lights are about to flash out. Here we go, the GT Cup for 2011 is underway, and it's Saunders who's got the advantage running his Copse Corner. It's Andy Ruin who moves up in second place. Gary's been third. Good start from Toby Tarrant-Willis into fourth, although it gets very slidey through Copse Corner. Also Benjamin Harvey in the KTM Crossbow running out a little bit wide, but everybody cleanly through, which is what you want to see, as it's Michael Saunders leading the race from Andy Ruin and Gary Eastwood. Then get back to Stephen Ritchie, who runs wide through Beckett's. Everybody else squabbling through. I think Group 2 is being headed up by Tom Andrew in the Morgan. That's great to see. And there's Barclay Dougal scrapping it out for the lead of Group 3. Plenty of cars fighting for position as the pack look to have all made it cleanly through onto the hanger straight. Down into Stowe comes the race leader Michael Saunders, with Andy Ruin doing what he does best, and that's giving chase to Saunders in second position. Ruin, who had that legendary drive up through the pack at Alton Park last season, he doesn't need to work quite as hard today, but he's there right on the tail of the race leader. Great shot of the pack working through Stowe. Then Vale and Club for the race leader, and Andy Ruin in very close attention. These two both Group 1 cars, as is the third place man Gary Eastwood. Leon Price up into fourth place, with Don Grice also starting well. There's Group 2, and it's still Tom Andrew just from Benjamin Harvey, as through the very quick farm curve comes the race leader Michael Saunders. He only did 2 laps in qualifying, and only did the 1 lap in the 2 free practice sessions that we had on the Saturday here at Silverstone. So Saunders, very little running this weekend. He's desperately hoping the car will hold together for the duration of this race, but at the moment it's looking absolutely fantastic. Beautiful slide from the leading duo. Here we've got Philip Jones and Andy Yule in the Chevron GR8, and Yule making contact with Philip Jones as Jones looks to recover. He's in pursuit of Mark Radcliffe in the Group 3 BMW. Back to the lead of the race, and it's still Saunders who has the advantage going through Luffield. Now he gets to put the power down in the TVR, accelerating along the start-finish straight through Woodcote Corner. Not quite as fearsome as it was now that the barrier's been moved back. Saunders with the advantage from Andy Ruin, and then Gary Eastwood looking very solid in third position. Through Copse they go, the chase is on. Andy Yule going well in the Group 3 Chevron. Danny Winstanley from the back of the grid working up through the field. Here is the battle for fourth position as Leon Price defends from Don Grice, but Grice goes through in the BMW, so Don Grice moves up into fourth position. Leon Price in the FF Course Ferrari. Nothing you can look at the slide from Don Grice. Exuberant stuff behind the BMW, with a BMW as he goes through Luffield. Toby Tarrant-Willis also just at the back of your shot, Leon's FF Course teammate. So Grice up into fourth, Price into fifth, and Tarrant-Willis rounding out the top 6. As accelerating in towards Copse Corner, we meanwhile turn to the Group 3 leader, and that is Barclay Dougal, who's actually hassling the Group 2 Marcos of Colin Simpson. Great to see Colin back in the GT Cup, having been with the championship since his earliest days in 2007 and going very well at Silverstone this weekend, although Barclay Dougal leading Group 3, doing a very fine job, being paced nicely by Colin Simpson. That's enabling him really to drive away from second place man in Group 3, John Thorne in the BMW. So Barclay Dougal just sitting in the tail behind the Marcos for the moment. Doesn't need to find his way through, but he can keep that pace. Group 3 is looking very good indeed. Now here's Danny Winstanley all the way from the very back of the grid. He's on the tail of David Tomlin. This is for 5th position. So David Tomlin having to defend vigorously from Danny Winstanley. Winstanley's gained something like 20 places over the course of the race. And I think he's finding the Ferrari of David Tomlin just a little bit too wide at the moment. Here's a bit of a moment for Rupert Martin, losing the tail of the Ferrari on the exit of Luffield. He does very well to gather it all up. as our race leader Michael Saunders comes out of Luffield for the final time, and Saunders is going to take an inaugural victory in the GT Cup Championship. The first round of 2011 goes the way of Michael Saunders in the TVR. Superb drive from him, he punches the air into like second place to Andy Ruin, third place to Gary Eastwood, the pair of them having a good race-long tussle. Look at the light from Michael Saunders. Oh, this is great to see. Tom Andrew wins Group 2, just heading off Benjamin Harvey in the KTM Crossbow. Andrew's debut in the car in the Morgan Aero, punches the air in delight, and a very, very well-deserved win for him. And then here comes Bartley Dougal. He wins Group 3. John Thorne, though, in the BMW, gaining on him all the while. You can see Thorne just pulling out, but Dougal claiming the honours. Some great racing throughout the field. A fine way to kick off the season. So here's the classification, with the win going to Michael Saunders, with Andy Ruin in second place, Gary Eastwood rounding out the podium, Don Grice claiming fourth, from David Tomlin in fifth, Tom Andrew in sixth, Benjamin Harvey rounding out the top 7. In terms of the group results, well, Group 1 won by Michael Saunders from Andy Ruin and Gary Eastwood. Tom Andrew claiming Group 2 honours from Benjamin Harvey and Colin Simpson, with Bartley Dougal claiming Group 3 from John Thorne and Adam Hayes rounding out the podium. Well, 3 delighted group winners on the podium. No champagne in race 1 because they have got race 2 to prepare for, though they do get a well-deserved round of applause.
Well, Michael, fantastic start to the season for you. A win overall in the TVR.
Yeah, brilliant. Great start to the season. We knew it was going to be difficult, and I had to push really hard to stay ahead of Andy. Keep pushing and pushing. The car was getting slower and slower as the tyres wore, and yeah, it was pretty intense, very hot in the car.
Yeah, it was a great race. Really happy to get the win. It was a close call at the end, but it was a fun race.
Yeah, what was going on at the end? It looked like the gap was closing between you and Benjamin Harvey.
It was, yeah. I was a bit tight on fuel and running on reserve tank, so I wasn't sure how long it would actually last out, but managed to get it round and just had to manage the times a little bit, but it was good, it was fun.
Bartley, congratulations. What a fantastic way to start the season.
Yes, it was nice. It was warm, but it was nice and good fun. Good race with Colin Simpson, so I enjoyed that.
Yes, you were right up there battling away with the Group 2 Marcos. He really kept you going around all the way there, didn't he?
He did. He's got quite a few more horsepower, but no, he drove well. It was a good, fair, clean race.
Sometime after the race, the news came through, however, that race winner Michael Saunders and Danny Wynne-Stanley have been excluded from the results following a technical non-compliance.
Well, that was a great race to start the 2011 season. Join us after the break to find out what happens in race 2.